Welcome back to Energetically You, where we talk about optimal wellness, abundant mindset, and confident decision making. I'm your host, Megan Swan, a wellness coach and consultant, and the founder of Megan Swan Wellness and the Sustainable Integrated Wellness Approach. I help high performance humans, entrepreneurs, leaders, and modern companies thread more wellness into their lifestyle and or company culture, so that ultimately becomes a way of life and business and not a check mark on their to-do list. I'm on a mission to empower more humans through optimal wellness. Today on the podcast, I am so excited to interview Blair Kaplan. She is an expert in social media marketing and the president of Blair Kaplan Communications, a British Columbia-based PR agency. She brings 15 years of experience to her clients, which include global wellness, entertainment, and lifestyle brands. She is the creator of the social media empowerment pillars, has helped her customers grow their followers into tens of thousands in just 1 month, win integrative marketing awards, and more. Blair is listed in USA Today as one of the top 10 conscious female leaders to watch in 2022, and Yahoo listed Blair as a top 10 social media expert to watch in 2021. She has spoken on national stages, and her expertise has been featured in media outlets including Forbes, CBC Radio, Entrepreneur, and Thrive Global. Blair is an international best-selling author, and her recently published second book, The Global Resilience Project, is one of the things we're going to be talking about today. She is the co-host of the Dissecting Success podcast in her free time, and you can find Blair growing the Global Resilience Project's community, where users share their stories of overcoming life's most difficult moments. So let's dive in. Welcome, Blair. I'm so excited for this conversation. We've already gotten to know each other a little bit better, but I'm curious to kind of go down some deeper rabbit holes in all of your expertise. So welcome. How are you? Let's start.
Oh my God. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to connect with you, and I'm jealous that you're somewhere warm and I am not. But yeah, I'm good. I'm doing okay.
Amazing. Yeah, I won't tell you what the temperature here is. I will tell you that, your bio is so expansive and impressive. I really want to dive first, though, into the resilience piece before we talk a little bit about the sort of more conscious social marketing. So let's define our terms. How would you define resilience?
That's such a great question. So I want to start by how I used to define it. I used to define it as the ability to bounce back from a difficult time. And I've been on a healing journey. And during one of my healing ceremonies, I had this epiphany that we're never bouncing back, because when you go through something, when you have to be resilient, you never come out the other end the same person. So there's no going back. So I define resilience as the ability to bounce forward from a challenging time.
I have goosebumps. Yeah, that really resonates. So do you find that you can't talk about this without going into your own background and deep, personal experience with this conversation? Or how do you kind of present it to people if you're at a cocktail party and they have no idea who you are? They ask what you do.
Well, I mean, high level, if they ask what I do, I'll tell them I'm a social media and publicity expert, and I'm a resilience thought leader. And if they want to go deeper into what does that mean to be a resilience thought leader, I give them a heads up. Like, it's a bit of a heavy story. We're at a party. I just want to give you a trigger warning. If you want to talk about it, we can go down it. I'm completely comfortable, but some people aren't. And I want to respect that, especially for like at a conference or a cocktail party or, somewhere where it's not like, a heavy setting, but some people have the space to hold for me to share. And some people are not in a space at that time, and we connect later if they want to learn more.
Yeah. Well, here we're all about heavy conversation. So, we're as much as you want to elaborate, can you give the audience some context of, your personal experience with resilience?
Okay, well, it's a bit of a story and just trigger warning. It's heavy. I'm not a professional therapist, but I'm a professional human who's gone through a lot of shit. Can I swear? I sweared. I
Oh
swore.
yeah, you
I
definitely
sweared.
can swear.
And I didn't know really what resilience was or that I had to be resilient. But I'm going to share with you my journey. And if something triggers you and needs support, you can reach out to me. I'm sure my contact info will be in the show notes or my website. If you want support in your community or you want to talk about anything that I'm sharing, I want to make sure that people have a space to heal and to do what they need to do in order to move through their challenges to bounce forward. So I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And my dad was a diamond dealer, jewelry appraiser, gemologist. We were very successful. I was born in the 80s. And my dad, I guess my entire life lived with addiction, but I didn't really know that. And when I was 7, my dad's addiction got really bad and he sold his business because he didn't want to tarnish his name in the jewelry industry. He left our family and he was living in deep, active addiction. It went from cocaine to injecting to not being able to inject anymore to smoking crack. And this was like a 4+ decade, addiction. So my dad was now in and out of my life and I didn't know he was unwell. It was positioned to me that he was just a terrible man and a terrible dad. And what was I supposed to do? Like, how was I supposed to know? No one sat with me and said, Blair, like your dad loves you no matter what. He's just sick. And there's no fault to anyone because back then in the early 90s, we didn't know what we know now about addiction. And the understanding of it now is completely different. But I thought my dad stopped loving me. And so growing up, I had obviously a lot of trauma, like abandonment issues with relationships, depression, anxiety. I let men treat me terribly because that's just what I experienced. My dad was never abusive physically, or we've actually never fought. He's never we had a pretty good relationship later, and I'll get to that. But, growing up, I hated him. I'd want him to die. He was just so, I was a daddy's girl and he broke my heart. And he would say, Blair, I'll come to your birthday party. And I'd be at the roller rink and I would do a lap and I'd sit by the door and wait for him. And then I'd do another lap and sit by the door. And he would never come. And she'd say, Blair, I'm picking you up for family time to go to McDonald's. Okay, I'm running late. Okay, you know what? I can't come. I'll do it tomorrow. And then the same pattern would happen. And it was quite terrible. And so, growing up, as a teenager, obviously, I rebelled. I was a rebellious kid, but also went to school, didn't skip. I was, but I got tattooed at 15. Anyways, I went to school for public relations in Winnipeg, and I worked for Lululemon Athletica. And I was really grateful for that because working for Lululemon, I got promoted within the organization when I graduated from university, and I moved from Winnipeg to Edmonton. And when I was in Edmonton, I had goals to move up in management. And if you did, I don't know if they still do, but this was 2007. If you had goals to move up in management, they sent you to something called the Landmark Forum, which was a personal professional development thingy. I saw it as a free trip to Vancouver because, again, I didn't really care. I just wanted to go party with my friends. It was Halloween in Vancouver. I'm in my early 20s. But anyways, I went and something there clicked, and I had the tools I needed to forgive my dad and to accept him for who he was. And I will never forget, having this really deep and meaningful conversation from a phone in the middle of a grocery store, crying my eyes out. And just basically we both cried and we had a beautiful conversation that continued later in the evening. And from that moment on, we developed a new relationship, and I decided to just accept him for who he was. And we started to get to know each other. And I eventually moved to Vancouver, and he started to come to visit me a few times a year, and I got to start to know my dad. And we had a very beautiful relationship, and it wasn't the relationship I wanted as a kid. It was the relationship that I allowed to happen. And I got a second chance. I got my dad back in my life. But at the end of 2018, we learned that he was terminally ill. And that rocked my world because I just got him back. I was making up for lost time, and I just had him back in my life. And he had COPD and lung cancer, and he still lived with addiction. Sometimes it wasn't as active, or he would do harm reduction. He would switch one thing for something less harmful. It was, definitely a difficult thing to navigate, but I felt like I was being robbed and that the rug was pulled from beneath my feet, and I didn't know how to navigate that. And I started sharing my story with like friends over coffee or whatever it might be of our relationship, his addiction, my forgiveness, our resilience, and our story was helping people. Blair, like, thank you so much for the coffee meeting. You really inspired me to get a therapist. Hey, Blair, I heard you talk about your relationship, and I want to fix things with my dad before they die too. I was like, Dad, our story's helping people. Why don't we write a book? Let's gather stories of resilience from around the world, and we'll bookend a book with your story and my story. So when you're no longer here, we have a legacy piece to keep helping people. So at the beginning of 2019, we launched, at the time it was called the I Am Resilient Project. I ended up manifesting a lot of situations, which is now why it's called the Global Resilience Project, because I believe in manifestation. And I'm just going to go high level, but since launching that project early March 2019, a lot of hard things have happened. And, just for those of you who don't see this or don't know me, like, I'm in my 30s, and this started in my like mid early 30s. But yeah, so my grandfather, who was like my dad, died. That was, he was in his 90s, and it was still really sad. On the way home from his funeral, my husband and I got in a car accident on the highway, and I got a concussion, a brain injury. I couldn't recover because I had a work trip to Germany to launch a product. I got home, cleared my schedule to like heal. My husband then had a heart attack and quadruple bypass surgery. We were in the hospital for 3 weeks with him. So my husband almost died. During this whole time, we're trying to get pregnant, obviously not while he was having open heart surgery. Like that was hard. And, we were told we probably couldn't do it on our own. So we thought, okay, we'll get some testing. And then I ended up getting pregnant naturally, which was amazing because I was told it was impossible, but I miscarried. And that was really traumatic. But not only did I miscarry, but 3 weeks later, my father-in-law suddenly died from cancer. 3 months later, my mother suddenly died from cancer after a 3-week battle. And then not even a year later, after my mom died, my dad died. So like 360-ish days apart. And I didn't get the book out in time for my dad to see it because it was really hard to hold space for people while navigating such traumatic loss. Like in just over a year, we lost 3 parents and a baby. And like, it was a lot. It's any of those things on its own is a lot. And so this last June, June 2022, we published our first book, The Global Resilience Project. And it was such a monumental moment. And over the 3.5 years it took to get this book out, we also launched a podcast and we started speaking at events. And, I started sharing our story on other platforms, like other podcasts, in other books. And we started this global movement. And so everything I've done has led to this very moment.
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry for all of your loss. To your point, any one of those things is a major thing to be navigating. Was it something you had to really work through? Sort of, I don't think you need to even forgive yourself, but the difficult piece that you really wanted to get the book out before your dad passed away?
I think I let go of expectations quite early on because what I really learned was that like I can set all the goals in the world, but you can't control a lot of things in life. And obviously I was very disappointed, but I was also very drained and burnt out. Like compound grief is no joke. And running a business while navigating multiple loss is very hard, especially with depression and like, showing up as a wife and a daughter-in-law and a sister and a friend. And like, it was a lot. So a part of me felt really upset, but my dad knew the strides that we were doing and he was really proud of me. And like, the goal was to have a legacy piece and that we have that. And, he was the muse. So I had to let that go. Like I didn't have capacity to hold that.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what maybe some of the tools or the reframes that you were given at that conference that made you want to reach out?
I have no idea what it was. It's very interesting. It's like I blacked out. Like I don't know what it was. And I wish I did, but I don't. So
are you a Gabor Mate fan?
Yeah. I haven't read all of his books, but like In the Realm of the Hungry Ghost, I've read a couple times. Like I've read it once and listened to it once, and I know there's a bunch of other work. I kind of have to mix between, like, I love rock star autobiographies, and I love professional development, and I love sassy, sexy novels, and then I like the stuff
we need to exchange lists.
Yeah, so like I need to rotate around because I can't just do heavy. Like right now, I'm doing Oprah's new book, The Things You Didn't Know. I can't remember what it's called right now, but now I want to look it up. I was literally just listening to it as I did my makeup. It's very depressing morning reads, but like I like to.
Would you recommend it or no?
Oh yeah. What Happened to You? Oh my God. It's amazing. What Happened to You? It's Oprah and this, doctor, and they talk about trauma. And like, for example, as a little kid, if I was crying, like the whole frame of the book is like, as a little kid, and if I was freaking out and crying or misbehaving, someone's like, what's wrong with you? But really, the question is, what happened to you? Because it's a response. So it's a really fascinating book. So I love reading books like this because it helps me with my work through the Global Resilience Project. But I need to I always have like a business book going, and like an autobiography. I love like rock star autobiographies, actresses. Like I just, like diving into people's personal lives. So I have to cleanse my palate from the heavy stuff. But there's a lot of great resources out there. But yeah, like with Landmark, I can't tell you exactly what it was because a lot of it I thought was like blah. Like I didn't care. Like I was just kind of like, oh, is it over? And then something just clicked. And I can't even, I've never been able to remember what that moment was. It's very interesting.
Can you speak to the importance of the ability to tell our stories in the healing process?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, what I've learned is that there's ways to strengthen your resilience muscle. So there are things you can do when, the calm between the storms, that you can strengthen your muscle. So when life gets hard, you have tools that you need to move forward. And there are multiple tools. I share usually some different ways to do that. Yeah, I'm going to share my secrets. Okay, so do you want to know the secrets? Because one of them is about sharing your story.
Yes, please share. Tell us everything.
I'll tell you all the things. Okay. So, well, first of all, I chose sobriety. When I learned my dad was going to die, I decided to cut out alcohol. Alcohol was the bridge to bad decisions. And I was a lot like my father, and it scared me because certain things just I didn't like who I became. So choosing to remove things that triggered my anxiety that I could, like in my control, like removing alcohol was one of the best decisions I could have done. That's not really a secret. That's one of the biggest things I think that got me through everything. And I'm not going to share all my 5 secrets, but I'll share a few. So one of them is practicing gratitude. So about 6 years ago, I actually saw a video by Sean Acor, and it shared that if you practice gratitude every day at the exact same time, and you list 3 things you're grateful for from the past 24 hours, and you do this at least 21 days in a row, the neural pathways in your brain start to change so that you see the world in a more positive way. I was like, that seems easy. So I opened up my phone, set a gratitude alarm. I called it gratitude alarm at 9 p.m. And every day since then it goes off. And me and my husband, or me and my friends, or me alone, and maybe I put it on social media, or I text someone, or I'm at a party, we practice gratitude. I think a lot of me persevering through these hard things, bouncing forward, is because I've been doing this and my brain has been rewired. One of the other things that I think is so important is that the way we fuel our bodies, the way we fuel our minds. Because I don't drink, I turn to other coping mechanisms. And I'm someone who very easily can turn on Real Housewives of whatever and just watch for 8 hours. And and the news has been so there's lots more bad than good. And so while navigating really hard stuff, I had to stop watching the news. It was just too negative for me. I knew what was going on and I had news alerts, but I could check it on my phone. But I wouldn't watch the 5 o'clock, 5:30 and the 6 o'clock news. Usually the news is just on. I couldn't do that. I cut out all the toxic reality TV. I only watched the positive stuff, not the stuff with the fighting and the drama, because that's energy. So I was very careful about what I consumed, what I listened to. I love heavy metal and rock and roll. Some music I couldn't listen to because it was just too heavy for me. I read things that were inspiring, and then also how I fueled my body. Fueling your body is so important, right? So what are you putting in your body? Are you eating just cheese and bread, Where are your vegetables, right? What are you doing to nourish your body? And because I don't drink, I was turning to junk food and like pizza, and obviously all that junk food that was filling my cravings, my addiction. Like I ate a lot of cookie dough blizzards, but I also made sure I had a lot of vegetables and everything in there as well, because you need that nutrients. And like now I'm back to eating a lot healthier because I want to fuel my body. Because when you're fueling your body and drinking water and sleeping 8 hours a night and you're taking care of yourself, you feel better. You have more energy, but also there's nothing wrong with lying on the couch and ordering pizza and blizzards for like 5 weeks, because if that's what you need to do to survive, that's fine. But when you are not in survival mode and you're in thrival mode between tragedies and traumas, that's when you fuel your body, when you have the energy and capacity to cook and do those things. And there are other secrets, but the third one I'm going to share is sharing your story. Now, it doesn't mean like come on a podcast or a TV show and get out there and share your story, but I think there's something to be said about not keeping everything inside. Like as a little girl, I've always loved writing, and I had journals, and my journals and diaries were full of like how I felt, because I never had a therapist. I needed one. The teachers even called my mom in to say, we think Blair's depressed. And my mom's like, nah, she's fine. She's happy. But like, I was depressed. And like my poems and my diary entries, like I was depressed, but like, there was a stigma about it. And now it's like, well, this is who I am. And it's funny because the diary entry I found was like, is that who I am? Blair Kaplan, the depressed girl? I guess we'll never know. But haha, little Blair, we know I'm depressed. But like, like maybe you explore working with a counselor or a therapist, or working with medicine and guides, or starting a journal, or talking out loud, like getting it out of you and talking out loud to yourself. Maybe you record it. Maybe you write it out. Maybe you write it out and you make it into a story. Maybe you submit it to, a blog. Maybe you come on a podcast or a TV show. Maybe you have a conversation, or maybe you go to the Global Resilience Project's website and submit it. And we share it with our community, because we created a safe space for you to share stories of resilience, because sharing helps you heal. And not just that, but imagine if you could read a story of someone going through something similar when you are in the depths of it, and they gave you the tools and the tips that worked for them to get through it. Because I would have loved to read and understand how to navigate a sudden loss of my mom. Like I reached out to my few friends who've lost parents who were in some similar but not similar situations, and I got advice. But what if like there was just a resource? And so that's what we've created, a community where it's a safe space to share stories. We have a podcast for you to share stories. We have a published book for you to share stories. And, if you're interested in, submitting your story to the book, applications are now open, and we're, accepting people to share their story in our published book. And later on this year, the project and the book is going to be on Amazon Prime, and we're getting a big global audience. And we have stories from around the world that are in our first book, 70 stories from all over the world. We all have a story to tell. Yeah. So share your story.
Oh my goodness. Where to start? First of all, you used like a version of thriving, but it wasn't thriving.
Oh, thrival. It's like from survival to thriving. Thrival.
That is brilliant. And really all your secrets, you're just preaching to the choir here. I love them all. And I also loved the integration tip with gratitude, to set yourself a gratitude alarm. I'm going to do that. That is brilliant. I'd love to hear a little bit more about how the community works. Like if you want to share your story, where is the community? Is it its own platform? How is the interaction? Just a space where you can read other people's stories?
Yeah. So the website is theglobalresilienceproject.com. On this website, you could learn about the community, me and my sister. My sister, Alana, is a therapist. We work on this together. There's an option to read stories of resilience. So you can read the stories that have come in online. There is a tab for Radical Resilience, which is the podcast. You can also listen to Radical Resilience on your favorite podcast player. It comes out once a week on Fridays. On our website, there's an option to submit your story. And the way that's set up, it's set it up as a guide. It's set up in a way where like we guide you through like, was your challenge? Tell us your story. How were you resilient? We're not looking for like prolific writers. We're looking for your story, and we review everything and edit it before it goes up to make sure it flows. But you could do that right on our website. And we have a blog. The blog is, starting to become more active again in a media section, which you can see where we've been featured in the media. And we have we're active on Facebook and Instagram as well. We have a Twitter account, but my resources are more focused on Facebook and Instagram. So every story that gets submitted on the website, like through the website, will get published unless there's a very like specific reason why it won't. Like I can't tell you what that would be. Hasn't happened yet, but you don't know what you don't know. But I believe everyone's story deserves to get told. To be inside the second book, there is going to be an application. You'll be able to find it on our website. It'll be very noticeable. It'll be on the homepage. It'll also be on my blairkaplan.ca website. But if you want to be inside the book, there is a cost. They're $888 US, and that's to be in the book. And then you get this whole package of other things with that. My first book, with the amount of money and hours that we put in, like I was able to, figure out how much we need to charge in order to at least like for me to break even. So I'm not really making money off of the book, but it's definitely like a really big project with time and resources. And then the podcast, Radical Resilience, right now I don't have applications open to the public to apply to be on the podcast. But if someone's listening to this and they have a story they want to tell, they can reach out to us. Our email is on the website. I'm very easy to find. Like I'm Blair Kaplan Venables. And I have people reaching out all the time. Like right now, there's like 70 plus people who want to be on the podcast. So I'm just trying to figure out how to do all that because people want to share their stories. So right now, those are the options. And I'm also available to come to speak to your organization or your school or your group or like on your podcast or your show. I want to help the world. And my goal is by August 2025 to empower 88 million people, to help them share their stories or to heal or to be more resilient. So if there's a way for me to do that to your community and your world, just like I'm doing right now, I'd love that opportunity.
Beautiful. Can you repeat the bit about the show that's coming up? Because our connection's a bit wavy and I don't want that to get missed.
Oh, right. Okay. So I don't have too much to share just yet, but in March, I'm going to be, So in March, I'm going to, it's a secret to me too. So I'll share what I know.
Okay.
So in March, I'm going to be going to Nashville and I'm going to be filming a segment for a new TV show that's coming out on Amazon Prime. And as of now, my understanding, the show is called My Story. And I say that because sometimes show names change. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be in the first episode and I'm going to be sharing my story.
Incredible. So do people just reach out to you or is that something you had to apply to? I'm so curious.
Yeah. So my background's in public relations and publicity, and I have a strategy. And if you want to work with me, I can tell you how to do it. Like there's lots of opportunity. Yeah, there's lots of opportunities out there. And I think this was a mixture of me being in this industry for 15 plus years and for being in the right place at the right time and having a story to tell and seeing the right opportunity show up.
Yes. So now, without telling us your secrets of the how, please tell us, what was it like to be broadcast in Times Square on a billboard?
Okay. Yeah, that was crazy. Okay. So a little backstory. When I launched my book in June, I was also a co-author in 2 other books. One was called Pursuit 365, and the other one is Woman Gone Wild, the Wealth Edition. And I had a chapter in that book, and it focused on mental wealth, which was like resilience and mental wealth and promoting the community. And we had a media tour. And so I went to Vegas for like a red carpet event and to speak. And then then I had a break to go home for family stuff in Winnipeg. Then I went to LA for a Hollywood party type thing. And then we went to New York. And in New York, we were told that some of the authors were going to be on a billboard. Did not know what to expect. I was shitting my pants. Like being in PR, my job is to put other people in the spotlight. So it's only kind of new that I'm in the spotlight. And it's very vulnerable. And like, I'm someone obviously with like low self-esteem and like trauma. So like, I'm working through it, but like that's scary. It's like, what if they don't like me? Oh my God, what if they think I'm ugly? Like, what if I get negative comments on social media, which will happen? Like, it's like people pretend they're me. People say bad things. People say nice things. Like, that's just the world. But it was just really intense leading up to it. When I found out, I like arranged a photo shoot and like rearranged my schedule and drove for 4 hours one way and then 4 hours another way. And they didn't even use that photo. They ended up taking a photo at the Vegas event that they used for the billboard. In the end, I looked good. The people who edited it worked for Vogue. So I knew I was in good hands.
Check.
Like, I actually made someone on the team, like the team of the book, to show me the photo. Like, no one else saw them, but I was like, show me, like, I'm shitting my pants. Like, show me what I look like. And so I loved it because it was like, I love animal print. I was in a leopard print dress. I looked really good because I was airbrushed.
You don't say.
Yeah. But yeah, I ended up being on a billboard in Times Square for a month. And some of the authors of this book were on a billboard. We each had our own, like, for 2 seconds or something like that, twice a minute, every minute for every hour, every day for a month, for 24 hours a day. I was on a billboard in Times Square and it was flashing and it was very surreal. I cried. I also felt very weird because my dad had just died and my mom, and I felt very like the duality of like living such a career accomplishment and like being so sad and missing my parents and that they weren't here to see it. It was a really big mind fuck for me because it was such a cool experience. And it was never one of my goals to be on a billboard. Like, it was cool. And I'm glad it happened. And it got me closer to empowering more people because people saw the billboard and found me and reached out to me. And now I'm working with someone who, like, she hired me because she saw me on a billboard. And I was just, June was like one of my lowest depressive months ever. Like, I was very sad and I wasn't suicidal, but I didn't care if I lived or died. Like, I was just like, okay, like, I've done cool shit. Like, if I die tomorrow, no big deal. And my mom, not my mom, but my sister and my friends were all very worried because, like, I usually have a lot of zest for life. And like in New York, I really felt it, like 3.5 weeks on the road, going from living in a small town in Canada in COVID, like with everyone, to being in 3 of the busiest cities in North America, very overstimulated, all these career achievements. Like, my nervous system was so out of whack. And then I had all this grief. So yeah, it was a really cool experience, but personally inside, I was having a war with myself.
So have you given yourself time with that grief?
Yeah, I'm in a good place. Like, I have new medication. I'm like, my hormones have been out of whack since the miscarriage. And so like, I'm on a pill that's helping me balance my hormones, and I've changed the way I eat. So I'm fueling my body better. I'm moving my body more. I'm on the right mission for, depression. So I'm mentally in a way better space now. Like, I'm a whole different person.
That's good.
Yeah.
Any sort of maybe non-conventional tips you have in terms of dealing with grief beyond the, like taking better care of yourself physically, mentally, maybe spiritually? Is there something like that you do in particular?
Yeah, I think what you just said is good to do when you're not in grief. When you're in grief, just be in your sadness. Don't push it aside or push it down. Be real. If you can't get off the couch, don't get off the couch. If you need to cancel plans, cancel plans. If you lose friends because of it, they're not real friends. I hardly left my house. I moved to a new town. I've been here for 1.5 years. I just went to a yoga studio for a yoga class for the first time in like a year. Like, I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to be amongst people. I didn't want to leave I was ordering groceries and food. Like, I didn't even want to go to the grocery store. Like, I'm leaving the house now and like, I'm back to like feeling more normal, and I have a long way to go. But I think when you're grieving and you're sad, be honest. Don't pretend you're okay, but also figure out what you need to support you. Like, if you have no energy to cook, then, bring that support in to help you. If all you want to do is bake and like distract yourself, then bake. If you feel depressed and you want to cancel your plans, or you need a sabbatical from work, maybe you need to quit your job, like, do what you need to do. Do what you need to do, but also be honest with the people that you're closest with, so you have a support network around you, and don't pretend you're okay. Because if you pretend you're okay, people can't support you.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's switch gears a little bit to your other massive area of expertise, sort of high level. What do you see as some of the major shifts in you've been in the industry for 15 years in terms of PR? How do you see it morphing, and are you optimistic or concerned?
Okay, so PR is like the planned effort to influence public opinion. It's never going anywhere. Like as entrepreneur businesses, it's part of the strategy. You got marketing, you have public relations, and say everything in between, sales. And obviously as technology changes, things are always changing. Like before I was in school for PR, like you would write a press release and you would fax it to the newspapers. Or now it's like, do people even read press releases? Is it about who you know? Like, do you even want to be in a print magazine? What is your product? So I think it's so industry dependent. And for me, I teach how to become a thought leader. I build out a system called the social media empowerment pillars for thought leadership. And they're the 7 things you need to build out in your strategy, with the main focus of using social media to leverage your brand to become that thought leader and to be seen as a leading expert in your industry. And it's a focus on publicity, like getting your name in the media, whether it's you sharing your expertise by an article or someone else writing about you, being on a podcast, just like I'm doing with you, starting your own podcast, and everything in between. To what are you doing on social media? How are you showing up? And what else are you doing between showing up on social media and your publicity? So my predictions for the future, I don't have them. I mean, like, people don't want to be sold to, they want to build relationships. And that's been the one constant since I've started. And so, like, what are you doing to build a relationship? How are you telling your story? We don't want to be sold to. We want to be part of something. We want to be part of your world. I want to feel like you want to feel like I'm your best friend. And I want to feel like the people I look up to are my best friends. And so that's where the real magic happens, where that like, know, and trust is built.
Brilliant. So how, if someone's interested in collaborating with you or working with you in that sense, is that like always a one-on-one situation? Do you have a course?
Yeah. So I have a few different ways you can work with me. Launching this March. So by the time this episode is aired, you can actually visit blairkaplan.ca, and I have a group coaching program called Empowerment. It's a 90-day program where we work on building out your empowerment plan. We build out your strategy, and we're going to build it out for the next 12 months. And not just build it out, but I'm going to build it with you and teach you how to implement it. And you're going to move the needle. You're going to get more visible. You're going to get more clients, make more money, maybe even charge more. And so Empowerment is my group coaching program. It's my signature program. I do work with people individually. I mentor one-on-one. So that might be someone who wants to learn and wants my support in more than just PR. I've written I've published 2 of my own books, and I have a podcast, and I've had a business. So a lot of times entrepreneurs bring me on as a private coach and mentor. I also offer a few done for you services where I build out your strategy and execute it for you. I implement it for you, where I become your brand. And then every month I take on a few clients where I build out your strategy, and then I teach you how to implement it. So I build your strategy for you, so you don't have to do all that legwork. I do the legwork, and then I teach you how to do it. So I basically teach you how to ride a bike on training wheels, and then take the training wheels off when you're ready.
Love that analogy.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, anything else you want to share with us? What else is coming up?
Oh, well, if you're curious, about? Yeah. I mean, it's funny.
Just a few things, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at my to-do list. Like, I have so much travel coming up, and like trying to fit in, like launching the Global Resilience Project second book and preparing to be on TV. We're going to be launching courses and products through the Global Resilience Project. And then with my social media work, I mean, I love everything I do, and I love everyone I work with. So that's all really exciting. My sister and I actually decided we're going to be launching a merch line, because it's just an alternative way to make money. And like, they're pretty sassy shirts. I'm not going to let you know what they say, but like, it's dark humor. And like, I think if you've gone through something traumatic, like the loss of a parent or 2 parents, and once you're out of that deep grief, you can actually see the humor in it. And like, maybe you won't, and that's okay. Maybe that shirt is not for you, or the mug. But yeah, my sister and I have some funny things coming down the pipeline. And yeah, my mom and dad died February 18th, and my mom died February 23rd. So my mom died February 23rd, 2001. And then my dad, February 18th, 2022. And so my sister and I created something for us called Grief Week. And it's like spring break for sad people. And so we live in Canada. So like we decided let's always be together over those 2 dates. And let's be warm, because we've decided it's way better to be sad and warm than sad and cold. And so, this February, we have our first annual Grief Week. It's being held in Palm Springs. We have hikes planned. We're doing a photo shoot with some of our new product. We're going to go, be sad. We're going to be happy. We're going to go on hikes, swim in the pool, honor our parents. And so, Grief Week has inspired a couple conversations with other prolific entrepreneurs in my world. And so I'm working on something with that as well. Not over mine and Alana's sacred Grief Week, but the whole concept of Grief Week and what can we do as grievers to support one another. So, I'm a very creative out-of-box thinker. So who knows what is going to unfold, but my sister and I have some, funny clothes coming out. We got spring break for sad people, Grief Week. We have a book coming, a book that the second book's just launched. The Global Resilience Project's available on Amazon. My other book, if you're like, Blair wrote a business book, it was my practice book to write a book. And it became a bestseller, and it's called Pulsing Through My Veins, Raw and Real Stories from an Entrepreneur. That's a practice book. That's also on Amazon. So if you want a little bit more of me in your life.
So much amazingness. The Grief Week, that's going to be massive.
Yeah. And I'm just playing around with it. If you're listening to this and you have ideas on like what you want, but maybe it's more of a retreat, like we do not want to sit in a conference room. Like, fuck that. Maybe we're going to go, it's at a spa or like it's at a, maybe, and we bring experts in and we do a panel, and I have no idea how I have other things I need to work on first. But I do know that every year Alana and I have our own Grief Week, and that when the time is right, something will unfold the way it's meant to.
Well, we will share your somewhat extensive list of links in the show notes.
Well, thank you.
And it was just such a joy to get to know you and hear about all of your incredible projects and your wisdom. Any sort of last bits of wisdom you want to leave us with?
Yeah, like life is fucking hard, and there's moments of joy and there's moments of sadness and everything in between. And just know that it's okay to not be okay. You're going to get through the hard stuff, and that you are resilient. You will bounce forward. And also thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you providing the space for me to share.
My pleasure, Blair. Bouncing forward. Let's leave it there, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you greatly. And if you are appreciating the show and you wish to support us in a small way, you can do that by rating us on Apple iTunes. You could share one of your favorite episodes with a good friend who you think would enjoy it. And you can subscribe to the show. All those things help us get more eyes on the podcast. So if you want to connect with me, you can find me on all platforms at Megan Swan Wellness. You can check out the website, meganswanwellness.com. I hang out mostly on Instagram and LinkedIn, so please drop me a message and tell me what was your major takeaway from the show. Have a beautiful week wherever you are in the world. Sending my love.